Hi, readers. Okay, so today we're going to get started with session 11, part 2. We are going to continue with what we started yesterday. So if you remember yesterday, we talked a lot about how writers and readers need to research some certain aspects of the world that their fantasy characters are in order for us to really understand and truly feel like we are sitting right there with the characters. So yesterday what you guys did is you saw something like this and you wrote down some things that the author of your book would have had to research before they started writing this text. So remember that I modeled with the Paper Bag Princess, and I showed you guys that I thought that probably the author would have to learn something about medieval castles in order to properly portray that for us. They had to make sure that certain things in their story was real, and they used nonfiction to learn more about it. Even though this was a fantasy made up story, there are some things that we have to be experts at in order for it to seem real. So our author yesterday would have had to research something about medieval castles and also some clothing. If you remember, I pointed out that Elizabeth was dressed very like proper for a princess back in medieval times. So Robert Munsch, our author, must have had to know something about that in order to properly portray Elizabeth in that story. So you guys yesterday filled out your bulleted list and you added more bullets if you wanted to. Then for your reflection, you answered this question: which one of these are you most interested in knowing more about as the reader? So at first you were thinking, what is the author going to have? What did the author have to learn more about? And then for your reflection, you thought, which one of these would I as the reader want to learn more about? So today we're going to flip sides here and we're going to take the learning from the reader's perspective. So here's what you're going to see today for your work time. All of your work is going to be on one slide today, unless of course you need more room. Feel free to add in a new slide if you find more information than what I've given you. So what I want you to do is choose something from your list from yesterday. You should have multiple things on your list, probably 5 to 10 things on your list that you can choose from. So choose something from your list from yesterday that you feel like, wow, I really want to know more about that. And that's what you're going to research further today. So I chose, and I'm going to do this for you guys so you guys know exactly what it's supposed to look like for you. So I chose medieval castles because I know that my author would have had to become an expert at that in order to properly portray Ronald and Elizabeth in their castle. So I'm going to learn more about medieval castles today. And another thing that you guys are going to have to do for me is tell me which website or book did you use in order to learn more about this topic. Now remember, we're using nonfiction today to gain information and gain those facts about the little things in your fantasy novel. So I'm not doing my work today with the Paper Bag Princess. I'm using something from the Paper Bag Princess to guide my learning for today. So I want to research more about medieval castles, okay? So what I did first is I got on Epic because I know that nonfiction is a big part of our library. And so I got on Epic and did I fill that in correctly? Hold on, you guys, medieval castles. Did I write that right? Yes. And so I searched in medieval castles and I made sure that I was searching for nonfiction. So I made sure to click on nonfiction here. And then the first thing here is it's this book right here. It looks very nonfiction. I mean, obviously it is because I searched for that. But it says castles, and then it says age 9 to 12, level 70, 45 pages. So that seems like something I could use today. So I am going to look at this text. Okay. So I know as a researcher of nonfiction, I always want to make sure that I'm using those, the table of contents in order to make sure I'm not just reading random things. If I have a purpose today and my purpose is to research medieval castles, then I need to make sure that I'm reading about that. So the first part of our table of contents says castle building. That sounds like it would be on my topic. So I'm going to go straight to page 4. Oh, wow. There's a lot on here. Okay, castle building. Military forts and walled towns had existed since ancient times. In the 9th century, when the vast empire of the Franks split into smaller territories called lordships and principalities, private landowners started building their own castles. Motte and Bailey. In France during the Middle Ages, early castles had a keep or a tower, built on a raised mound of earth called a motte. Okay, as a reader right now, I'm knowing that I can tell already that this resource is going to give me a lot of information. However, knowing myself, I don't have really any schema already on medieval castles, so I need something a little simpler. This seems like it's for someone who might already have some schema just to build on that, and I don't have any schema, so I'm already confused and I just started reading. So what I did next, you guys, is I went to Google, and you guys know how much I love Ducksters, at least my class does. I think it's a really great website that gives you information that's more on your level. So I went to Google and I typed in castles Ducksters, and it came up, the very first thing that came up was a Ducksters link that says, look, Middle Ages castles. I love Ducksters, so I'm going to start here because I think the other one was a little bit too much over my head. Okay, so it says, castles were built during the Middle Ages as fortified homes for kings and nobility. Why did they build castles? During the Middle Ages, much of Europe was divided between lords and princes. They would rule the local land and all the people who lived there. In order to defend themselves, they built their homes as large castles in the center of the land they ruled. That's interesting. I didn't know that the castles were right in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and use that information. So I'm going to copy and paste the website right here, just so that way my teacher knows that this is the website that I used. And some info, already I've learned the castles were always in the middle of the land they owned. Okay. What else am I learning? They could defend from attacks as well as prepare to launch attacks of their own from their castles. I already know in my schema that they would attack from their castles, so I'm not going to write that down as new learning. Okay, originally castles were made of wood and timber. Later, they were replaced with stone to make them stronger. Ooh, I didn't know that at first they were made of wood. So at first, castles were made of wood. Then they started making them out of, oops. And what was the language that they used? Stone. Ooh, okay. So do you guys kind of see what I'm doing? I'm learning anything new that I'm learning about my topic. I'm rewriting it in my own words here on this slide. So I'm going back and forth between my Ducksters article and this slide. So that's what you guys are going to do today for your reflection, or for your work time. Now your reflection down here says, share the information you learned with a parent, sibling, pet, etc. So I want you to find someone or something. It could be a stuffed animal. It could be your mom or your dad. It could be your grandma that you're calling on the phone to say hi to. And I want you to share with them anything new that you learned about your topic today. Okay? All right, so just to recap for you guys, here's what you're supposed to do. I want you to research one topic from your list from yesterday. So choose something from your list from yesterday. Write down that topic for me so I know what you're researching. Make sure you write down the title of the book or website that you used. Remember, I started on Ducksters, but then I switched to a website. And make sure that you add in any information that you are learning about that topic. And did you guys notice that I wrote the information in my own words? We are not copying and pasting today, because copying and pasting is plagiarism. If you are taking someone else's work and now you're putting it on your work and turning it in, then you are saying it's yours, okay? If you are going to turn in this work as your own, you're saying it's your work. So you can't copy someone's work from the internet and turn it in as your own. So please make sure that you are following plagiarism laws and that you are writing this down in your own words, okay? The reflection today is I want you to share anything that you learned with anyone. It could be anyone or anything. Just share it, okay? It's exciting to learn new things, and so I want you guys to be able to have a chance today to share that, okay? Please let me know if you have any questions. I really am looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to learn today. Good luck.